Ndị be anyị kenekwanụ m unu. Anyị sị m ka ụbọchị nkịta mara na anyị na mma. Anyị si ka nkonye chiri ya zerekwa. Dịka o si dị, ihe a bụkwa Eastern News 24 ka anyị si wee bịakwa na-ewetara onye bụ ozi gbasịta maka ya bụ ife na-eme na obodo nọ n'ime ya and nwere ụwa na-azọ n'ala Igbo. Alright, n'ụbọchị nkịta wetara unu ozi according to one of the Biafran activists, Finland-based activist. O nwere nnukwu ozi o wetara anyị n'ilu akwụkwọ. Quote, Biafra, Nigeria has more to lose if Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali don't get democracy right. This is according to Musa. All right, one of the Biafran activists was in Iraq. Kai Gegodin Yabu Jimakia Weben Iraq. Yabu Musa Kuriabu Kuniraku. Manangwa and the Madna, the rule of law in Nigeria. Name Ayasagia. That Nigeria is a country that has no law. So Kaguria Bife, Makana, the fear of Russia and the Burkina Faso and Mali and Niger. I don't think Nigeria government will survive it this time. All right, Kaguria Bife say, Mara couldn't tear your own contribution if you didn't kun Bastama Bife Jamakia Benny Rauko. All right, over to you.
Heard Nigeria has risen up the ranks of the 2025 Global Terrorism Index, climbing to 6th place and moving up from the 8th position it had occupied in 2023 and 2024. So Nigeria is still in the top 10 of countries most affected by terrorism, alongside the likes of Somalia, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Burkina Faso, Iraq, and Myanmar, to mention a few. The report documents 565 terrorism-related deaths in Nigeria in 2024, reflecting a continued increase in fatalities over the past 2 years. The Nigerian military has cast doubt on the report, questioning its credibility and dismissing it as an external assessment which does not have the accurate picture. It said such narratives undermine its counter-terrorism efforts as it continues to push back against insurgents and criminal elements across Nigeria. Well, for all this, I'm suitably delighted to say that I'm joined now in the studio by Nigeria's Chief of Defense Staff and the highest ranking military officer in the country, General Christopher Musa. Great to see you again.
Very well, thank you.
Again, every time I see you, you don't look like there's a hair out of place, but I suppose you are a military
officer. I have to remain calm for my troops to continue with their tasks.
Yes, you do have to. But let's talk about that Global Terrorism Index. It was released this week. And I guess what stands out as a worry is that terrorism remains a major challenge and appears to be expanding, according to the report. And out of the 10 most affected countries, 6 are in the West African sub-region, with the Sahel the most challenged. What is your reaction to that?
Well, reaction on the report or on the general terms?
On general terms, your reaction to both.
On the general term, the Sahel seems to be the most impacted. And why is that so? We have a lot of ungoverned areas. Like I said the last time, Libya is open, Sudan is going through stress, UAE, Central African Republic. There seems not to be any governance within those areas. So movement of light weapons, small arms, drug smuggling, human trafficking, and all sorts happening within the area, and definitely that, exacerbates the issue. Apart from that, we have climate change, adding into hunger, poverty, illiteracy, and what, and so that what has made it. For Nigeria, I think we're improving. Yes, there seems to be an upsurge within the Sahelian region, and it tends to flow into Nigeria. And you imagine Nigeria is a big attraction to all. There is this belief that Nigeria is a very rich country, and anybody coming into Nigeria will have so much to give, and so there is so much to it. So most of these reports sometimes I think are overblown, taken out of context, but for us, we have a task and we continue to do what we're supposed to do.
Right, but how worrying is it that the report points out that while group terrorism, for instance, has declined significantly in Europe, and what we see there now are isolated acts carried out by individuals. I mean, there's no argument about the fact that group terrorism has declined. Everybody can see it and feel it. Here in West Africa, jihadist groups like Al-Qaeda and Islamic State are leading the terrorism charge and appear to be radicalizing people at a faster rate. So in that respect, is it fair to say that the counterterrorism effort in West Africa is becoming less effective even after so much effort has been expended?
Well, I will not speak for West Africa. I can speak for Nigeria because I know efforts have been made.
Well, Nigeria is in West Africa.
Good.
So,
and you know, the latest report gave us in 2024 we had the least number of attacks. Within the country, things are really improving. Yes, we still have isolated issues, one off. But like I can tell you, the troops are really putting in their best. And like I said, when we have issues of poverty in West Africa, a lot of issues with governance, challenges with Niger, Chad, Chad, Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, they are taking a lot of heat. And that is because, one, the areas are large, there's a lot of poverty within those areas. Climate change is one major issue on ground, and lack of political will is causing these issues. And those are the things trying to pour into Nigeria. And so whatever efforts we are making, as long as these things are there, it's going to be a challenge. And that's why the federal government is moving up to make sure that we have a very wonderful border management system, because we have to protect our borders. If you notice, most of these guys coming with this flow into Nigeria from outside. And that's why it's critical. And that's why for us, the 3 countries that have gone, we are still militarily discussing with them. Just recently, we have their DDR teams, disarmament team, visiting Nigeria. They were here for about a week.
Well, they didn't attend your recent meeting.
No, that was the recent meeting was for the chiefs of defense staff. They actually didn't attend, but on our own part, because they feel politically they felt they should stay away.
But they had no place.
They had no place.
Really.
Yes. But as it is, for us as the military, we still do a lot of training together. We still have their men in our training schools here in Nigeria to tell you how we still work together. So we don't have such issues. But the truth about it is that, especially for these 3 countries, it's important that they get their leadership right, and then they're able to do a lot. That will also, and that's why for us in Nigeria, we have more to lose if they don't get it right. And that's why whatever it takes, politically, military, we need to partner with them to ensure that they're
When you say get their leadership right, what do you mean?
Democracy. They must have a democratic system that will be able to assist them into taking decisions that will help the country. If they don't do that, it's going to create more issues for them, more problems, and these are the things that are exacerbating these issues on ground. So those are the things I think they need to really look at.
Indeed. Now, let's return specifically to Nigeria and what the report says about this country. Beyond sort of the bits and pieces and the parts and so on, is the country faring better or worse when it comes to terrorism? Because the report, even the report itself, seems to suggest that there has been something like a 38% decrease in incidents of terrorism.
Yeah, I mean, more than that, I think, because, I mean, if you move around the country, you see that a lot of things have improved. Farmers are going back to their farms. Things are happening here and there. There's a lot of peace really coming around. So we look at it from their report. Sometimes, well, I don't want to argue on how they come about their indices, but what I can say is that Nigerians also know that things are really improving. We all need to join hands together to continue to do. And you know, remember, I've always said it. It's not always everybody that is really happy that things are getting. Because if you notice how we get, most times when we're succeeding, that's when we have this pushback. And the question is why?
Yeah, but what the index suggests, what this suggests, is that the index is actually fair. Because the index is saying that terrorism-related incidents have decreased in Nigeria by 38%. But it says that conversely, even though the incidents have decreased, it showed an increase in terror-related deaths.
Well, terror-related.
What do you make of that?
Well, I don't know what they mean by terror-related deaths.
Well, I can explain that to you.
Yes.
What they're saying is that even though there are fewer incidents, the impact of those fewer incidents is greater.
Okay.
So, in other words, when there's going to be a terrorism attack, it is likely to kill more people. So you may not have like a daily terrorist, you may have it, I don't know, once a month or whatever. But when that once a month happens, it kills a greater number of people, which suggests better planning on the part of the militants.
Okay, let me tell you, what they do is that because they know they can't withstand the forces, the federal forces, they look for soft spots. Now, once you are deployed in this area, what they do is that they look for soft areas where there's nobody, maybe nobody has any issues there, and that's when they attack. And what do they use? Mass destruction, IEDs. So these are the issues that are coming up. So it's not like as if there's an upsurge per se all over the country. No. There are just a few incidences, and what they look out for is, and you know, like we said always, we cannot be everywhere. And so the efforts are being made to make sure that we stem this effort, and everybody is working towards that. And I can tell you, things are really improving.
And unfortunately for you, you seem to be the, I mean, I hate to say that, but, you know, from a public point of view, the military, the army seems to be the only, because I mean, as you correctly pointed out in previous sort of interviews, you're not the only one who's supposed to be doing this. I mean, there's supposed to be police, there's supposed to be other things.
Correct.
But you seem to be the one doing it.
Yes, when it gets to this stage and it's beyond the police, the military steps in, and that's where we are doing. Now, like I said, how do we stop this? Now, let's get back. How did we get here? Porous borders, equity, fairness, justice, poverty, illiteracy.
Absolutely.
These are issues that have to come in.
I was going to get to that.
So we have to get issues on making sure that we're equally addressing those issues. There are areas that we've liberated. We need those areas, you know, to be garrisoned so that, you know, life could come back into normalcy. And that's good.
Who's going to garrison it? You just said it's beyond the police.
No, what we do is that once we clear an area, we move forward. The police, the civil defense, and everybody comes in so that government authority can be reestablished.
Yeah, but isn't that happening?
It's happening to some extent, but we want it to be more.
Right.
Because most times you find that we go forward, we still have to come back to make sure that
So why is it that it isn't happening more to the level that you want it?
Well, again, challenges of manpower, you know, equipments by these other groups. And that's why the capacities of those individuals must be enhanced. And that's where this police reform is very, very critical, very important. A nation can survive without the military. No nation can survive without the police. And that's why it's critical that we must get our police up and doing. I know efforts are being made, we need to do more. And once we're able to do that, and some of these things are being able to nip in the bud, we won't get to where we are.
Right.
And that's why my advice to nations is don't allow insurgency to commence anywhere. It's a very, very difficult thing to treat. Example, in Afghanistan, Americans were there for 20 years, spending almost $1 billion daily.
Yeah, but it's different. It's not America's country. This is your country.
No, but it doesn't matter. You are dealing with the same people.
Yeah, but you know your country better. I mean, you wouldn't go and carry out an insurgency in America and get away with it.
Well, I don't know what you mean by better, because if you, with all the technology and all the things, the know-how, and you know, Americans are not from the first time.
Yeah, but they're in a foreign country. That's a different thing.
But you are dealing,
the people in that place
you know the worst part,
terrain.
You know, the scenario for boats is that you are fighting somebody who has nothing to lose. All he cares about is destruction. It's either we are with him or you are against him. And anybody against him, he doesn't care who he kills. They're killing children, they're killing innocent individuals. They don't care.
Yeah, but you can't do anything on a massive scale in the United States and on a massive consistent scale for over a decade. It's not going to be possible. Well,
again, geography. You look at the geography within the United States and you look at geography in Nigeria. They're not too different. They're not two same issues. But the truth about it is that it's a difficult operation, and it's an operation that shouldn't start. But once it starts, you have to put these steps into place to make sure that everybody is on board. And I'm happy where we're getting some successes now, because Nigerians are beginning to understand that they equally have a role to play. Before now, people tend to believe it's a military operation, it's a military war, it's not our business. No. But now we get the support from the populace, we get information as quickly as we get this information, actions are taken. And that's why things are improving. If you go to Kaduna State, before now there are areas where people dare not go. But now markets are back, farmers are going back to farm, Zamfara State, Kebbi and all this. So things are improving gradually. Yes, we might have these incidences one or twice, because it's what we're fighting. So that's why it's important for us to understand.
And is it easy for people to get in touch with you?
No, very easy.
Because I mean, these things should be in the news all the time.
Very, very easy. But again, we have this issue of having to also protect giving those information.
No, I know, but in terms of the number to contact, the places, I mean, that should be on television sets every single day.
Yes, we have them, because what we do is that
for
the safety of the individual. Now we have some call numbers. I think we'll get them across to you. We have some call numbers you could do, but for the commanders on ground, we have given them the authority to mix with them and then pass their numbers around. So once you see something, you report as quickly as possible.
So you're concentrating obviously in those areas.
No,
where
very well,
things happen.
very well.
But obviously anybody across Nigeria could hear something and get in touch with you.
Yes.
But I mean, we were talking earlier about the fact that we're seeing less number of incidents, but greater number of deaths, which, as I said, suggests better planning. One incident, for example, in Yobe State, that report points out in 2024 led to the deaths of more than 120 people.
Not correct.
I mean,
that's why I've told you.
That's a massive
that there are
scale.
Some individuals that are happy when Nigeria is bleeding, or when Nigeria seems to bleed. And whatever, remember, not long ago, some people told us in 2025 Nigeria was going to pack up. I hope you don't forget that. So there are individuals that are not really happy things are really working well. And it seems when we're getting it better, that's when all this information comes in. I also remind you about the human rights report, the Reuters report, where they say we're illegal abortion over 10,000 people. It is whenever we're succeeding that we have this pushback. And the question I ask, what's the intent? What do they want to achieve? Is it to demoralize our troops or make them what?
So are you saying that more than 100 people went
killed? No, I can tell you.
So how many people were killed?
I think they're not up to 50. And why was that so? We have always warned, please don't trade with these individuals.
No, but you know that there's a difference. Sorry to interrupt you, General, but there's a difference between, I mean, we are reporters.
Okay, good.
And oftentimes the military gives a number.
Yeah.
But when you go and talk to the local people, they have a different number.
Yeah.
So when you say there are 50 dead, and when the local people are saying there are more than 120
there's no local, because
there's a big disparity.
The truth about it is, we know what it implies. Credibility is very important. We don't want to lose that, because once people cannot believe in what we are telling them, then we will lose the war. And we don't do that. So when we give you a figure, it's not like we're lying. Initially, we can give you a smaller figure until we confirm. And once we verify, we'll come out with the actual figure. Why is that so? What really happened then is that the communities were trading with those individuals. And then it was a deal that went back between them, just like the Lakurawas. You bring and that's why we say, don't ever bring a monster to yourself. You think he's there for you. When the chips are down, he's going to come after. It has repeatedly happened. When Boko Haram started, if we had nipped it in the bud, we wouldn't have got to where we are. So the important is that some people will come in and say, no, we are your village people, can provide you some local protection, or we're this, we're that. And then you give them up. Once they come in and they settle in, the next thing is they start asking for their pound of flesh. And that's what they do. And that's exactly what happened. It was a deal gone back between the communities, and that's what really happened. So before the troops could even get there, it was already too late.
So what do you make of the report's recommendations? It seemed to be suggesting that, once again, Nigeria is focusing extensively and almost exclusively on directly destructive kinetic warfare, whereas their advice is for Nigeria to dramatically ramp up, you were making the same point, ramp up the use of methods that don't involve direct conventional
non-kinetic
military action. In other words, non-kinetic warfare. And from your perspective as a military man, I would imagine that message is less for you and more for the politicians and perhaps the national security advisor.
Fantastic. Well, that's been done. I can guarantee you that it's been done. We were working in tandem. We're all working together with the National Security, the Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Internal Affairs, all the security agencies, and that's why all our theaters of operations, we have all the security agencies together, working under the same command. So we work this. And like I said, military solution is just about 25%. Non-kinetic is the most important, but two of them must go hand in hand. As we are pushing, the non-kinetic is also going, and that's what we also do. And that's why you see the military now, we're also into the non-kinetic efforts to also make up. There are communities who we provide boreholes, we provide schools, hospitals, they benefit from our hospitals. Sometimes we also extend food, medical treatment, and all these things to them. And that's why it's critical that it's important that we're able to have good governance for the people to understand that they are part of the system. They are benefiting from what the system owns them, and that is critical.
Yes, so there is no question in your mind that, in other words, you agree with the report when it says that there needs to be a shift towards less kinetic and more non-kinetic.
No, it's not a shift as per se. It's just to enhance the activities we're doing. We're doing that already. It's just that we need to scale up both the kinetic and the non-kinetic. Because the non-kinetic, like I said, in the Northeast, we're able to achieve, as of now, as a date, we have over 120,000 that have surrendered. Both terrorists, non-terrorists, women and children. And I've always reminded you, out of this number, over 60,000 were children. And what were they doing? Before now, they used to go and attack a village, capture everybody, take all the adults, and force them into joining them. Now it's difficult for them to do that. And so what they do is that the women they're with, they get them pregnant. Once they give birth, 4 months later, they take in. And within 120,000, they have over 60,000 that are children. And for us, that's the win, is a success that we're able to pull them out. Because for human nature, any child who grows in a society, what he sees is what believes that is natural. So if they grow in a society where killing is natural, they come out to become brutal killers. And we wouldn't want that to. And that's why we've given them that. And that's what to tell you, the non-kinetic, because we worked with the Borno State government, we work with the federal government, we work with the humanitarian agencies, all together, pulling them out. We give them a window, just like this. I was on TV, I was on radio, we were talking to, in fact, it took us a long while to convince the citizens to accept them to come back in. Because what we realized that not all of them were part of the terrorists. Some were forced. It was beyond what they could say. It's either you agree or you are beheaded. And they had no option. So they were able to do that. So the non-kinetic is going, and it's very, very important. It's very critical for us to do that.
And just to further emphasize that point, and to be clear that you agree that the root causes of terrorism, such as the absence of good governance, development, inclusiveness, credible elections, etc., are still being ignored in this country. Is that a fact?
I think efforts have been made. I think the government has also realized these issues, and I think steps have been taken to ensure that we get these things right.
Well, that report specifically refers to Nigeria as a country where the deteriorating socio-economic conditions is helping terror groups to recruit more people. So it is those socio-economic conditions that allow terrorism to thrive.
Yeah. I think in the past it was actions were not taken fully, but I think now, I think things have been done. I mean, you see some of the government, some policies
I don't know what you mean. I mean, we're talking about development.
No, development. No, definitely. Yes, development has.
The naira has been falling in value.
Yeah.
People. We're not just talking about people on the lower classes, yes. Middle class, even upper class. Yeah. What you could buy previously, you can't buy anymore.
Yeah, but I think
so,
again, it's not only. I think it's a world issue. It's not only a Nigerian thing.
Well, yes, it's not a consolation to that person.
It is. I think for us to understand that we're not only alone, and this terrorism we're talking about is not only in Nigeria. So it's not only Nigeria that is facing this issue. Everybody is doing it.
Yeah, but we are.
So the efforts Nigeria. We're doing, the efforts the government is doing, I think the government is trying to do its best. It doesn't happen overnight that these things are turned over. But I think it's a gradual thing. I think Nigerians are also working up to the responsibilities.
Well, I mean, you pointed out something, again, at the outset, that beyond all that, when the borders aren't properly policed, weapons can easily find their way in. So in those circumstances, your job becomes like Sisyphus of Greek mythology, whose job was to roll a heavy stone up a hill, and every time he approached the top, the stone escaped his grasp and rolled down to the bottom, whereupon he would start again. I think
the Minister of Interior is doing a lot, because I know of recent, we have a command center for the immigration. We're working together with the civil defense to ensure that the border areas are also properly manned. And before now we had thousands of entry points that illegal individuals just come in and go out at will. But efforts are being made now, at least for all the major border points. You could sit down in the command post at the command headquarters in Abuja, and you see what is going on directly there. So actions could be taken. Now, I think the leveraging on technology is making a lot difference now. So I think we need to really build on that, which is critical.
Right, but still the borders are porous.
not as they used to be. It's getting better, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
But that makes your job more difficult, doesn't it?
Of course, but that's where we're trained, and that's where we're living up to expectation. We're trying to make sure that we face the challenges ahead, and as we see it, we prefer solutions or we make suggestions, and actions are being taken. And I think for us that is very important.
It is interesting that the report doesn't actually factor in what is happening in the Northwest, for example, with criminal gangs, you know, kidnap people, sack entire villages, especially those that are close to minerals or have livestock, etc. So in a sense, this report was the tip of a much bigger iceberg.
Northwest is getting better, a lot better. So probably that's why they didn't speak about it. We
No,
know we
but
changed our
well, they were
operation.
focusing on terrorism.
No, you know, is terrorism the same thing? You know, the Northwest, because we have changed our operations. Before now, we used to have 2 divisions fighting separately. Now we've collapsed them into one command, Operation Fansanyama, under one commander with the GOC 1 div and GOC 8 div working together, holding the border. So now it has given us so much. And that's why you see the Northwest is really, really getting better. Farmers are going, that's why I told you, farmers are going back. We have a very good harvest this year. And we intend to also give protection for those ones. Now, the issue is with the mining areas. Those are areas, and you know, with the civil defense, they have the mine guards. They are also equally working. They are scattered all over. So I think the government now is equally trying to put them together. Because before now, like I said, the mistake we always do is that we allow things to fall until we try to address them back in. But steps are now being taken because we know how dangerous it is. I can tell you, Colombia, as we speak, their greatest threat now is not even drugs or whatever, illegal mining. So it's not a Nigerian thing, but it is what we are doing about it that is really, really very critical. And we understand that if we don't stop them, that's where they get the funds to buy weapons and then to continue to do that. So we have, part of our efforts now is we are identifying the oxygen, logistics, funding, leadership. And that's why you see things gradually are now picking up. Why we're having challenges is because we don't produce what we need. As we speak, even with your cash, it's difficult to get equipment. It's very, very difficult. And that's why we realize, and we're happy when Mr. President signed the DICOM bill. That has enabled us now to also to interact with other original equipment manufacturers for us to come and produce in it. Because we realize it is when you produce what you need that you can really be able to do so much. The Ukraine-Russian war is affecting the entire world. I can bet with your money, it's difficult to even get equipment.
So, I mean, you've talked about the terrorism issue in the Northeast. Yeah. You've talked now a little bit about the criminal gangs in the Northwest, a little bit. Just give us an overall picture of what the threats, the biggest threats now that you face are in this country when it comes to getting a handle on insecurity.
The greatest threats is that we're having individuals that are really hell-bent on killing innocent people for whatever reason. If it is monetary, it is ideology. They just don't care. And it is not like I always said is that they're getting the support from outside. I'm happy that efforts are being made. Of recent, you had the incident of the congressman from the US, what he said. And we try to bring those things up to understand that, look, how are they able to sustain these things for this long? Support. Now we're looking at, and the world needs to really come in, because my advice is that the entire world needs to look, let it not be a Sahelian kind of challenge, because if after Sahel we are next, they're not relenting. The ideology behind it is so much, and that's why we must do everything to ensure that we defeat that ideology. And it is only when we do that, then we can have peace. And without peace, there can be development. And that's why it's critical for every government to ensure that we stand up, face it both kinetically, non-kinetically, to address these security challenges.
So you were talking about the biggest threat.
Yes. The terrorists. The terrorists, we need to get them. And like I said, is a whole of society approach to it.
Are they more of a threat than the criminal gangs?
They're all the same. They're all the same. You know, the criminals have a way of putting their M's together. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. So the terrorists, the insurgents, the bandits, the criminals, all for one thing, either cash, ideology. And so they come together trying to work. Most times when we are carrying out operation, they try to call themselves to support each other. And because now we've understood that, so we take actions once they are coming on all fronts, we make sure that none of them goes back. And so that's why you see we are progressing. And like I said, you equally mentioned recruitment. When there is so much poverty, population growth. We have uncontrolled population. There are people just waking up and nothing doing from morning till evening, no food, no nothing. So they are easy target. These guys use them, give them peanuts and tell them, come and join me. Your government is not doing anything. I'm taking care of you. I could do better. Be with me and not with the government. And that's why we try to encourage Nigerians. Don't allow anybody to deceive you, because you end up dying like they do. And that's why it's important for us to continue to work together as a team.
General Christopher Musa, I want to thank you very much. It's always great having you in here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for taking the time to come and share your thoughts with us. General Christopher Musa is Nigeria's Chief of Defense Staff and the country's highest ranking military officer. Good to see you again.
Thank you. Good to see you too.
Ndị banyị gwadaluli nenu kunu sibene sorai ni lwa kono bosoro chiketa. Based on ihe inu ni lwa kuko kifi wori kubasta maka ya bife on national security and engaging in threats. Imanu no watch ya Burkina Faso, Niger and Mali could go together to form a strong ally. So it's going to be a brew to the Nigerian government. So ya bife ka jimakia we bia dike no ya bife ka ifi wori kubasta maka ya bife ndan ne drop right fi channel din kegi ke mesia no mun